If your money always seems to disappear without you even realizing where it went, then you're not dealing with a lack of money. You're dealing with a lack of control. And that's a much bigger problem than most people think. Because when people start struggling financially, the first thing they assume is, I just need to make more money. But what if that's not the real issue? What if the problem isn't how much you earn, but how you behave with what you already have? Take a moment and think about this. Have you ever received more money than usual? Maybe a bonus, a raise, or some extra income. And for a brief moment, you felt like things were finally going to change. But then, somehow, a few weeks later, you were right back where you started. Same stress, same pressure, same feeling that money just isn't enough. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. And patterns don't change unless you change them. Most people don't realize this, but as your income increases, your expenses quietly follow. You start justifying things. I deserve this. I worked hard for this. It's just a small upgrade. And slowly, without noticing, your lifestyle expands to match your income, not your discipline, your income. And that's why so many people, no matter how much they earn, still feel broke, because they never learned how to control money. They only learned how to spend it. Saving money is not about having extra. It's about creating space, even when it feels like there's none. Because if you can't manage a small amount, you won't manage a large one either. That's the truth nobody likes to hear. There are people out there earning very little, and still, they save something every single month. Not because it's easy, but because it's intentional. And at the same time, there are people earning 5, 10, even 20 times more, and they end up with nothing. No savings, no investments, no control. Just a more expensive version of the same problem. Because money doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. If you lack discipline with a little, you'll lack discipline with a lot. If you avoid responsibility now, you'll avoid it later too. The numbers change, but the behavior stays the same. And behavior is everything. Money is not complicated. People make it complicated. At its core, it's simple. Spend less than you earn. Control where it goes. Be intentional. But simple doesn't mean easy, because it requires awareness. It requires saying no when everything around you says yes. It requires patience in a world addicted to instant gratification. And most importantly, it requires honesty. Honesty with yourself. Because deep down, you already know where your money is going. You just avoid looking at it. You ignore the small daily decisions that slowly drain your future. The subscriptions you forgot about, the impulse purchases, the emotional spending. It all adds up, not in one big moment, but in small, repeated actions. That's how financial problems are built, silently, over time. And that's also how they are fixed, not with one big decision, but with small, consistent changes. You don't need a perfect plan. You need awareness. You need to start paying attention. Because once you do, everything changes. You start questioning your decisions. You start seeing patterns. You start gaining control. And control is where everything begins. Because money doesn't disappear. It moves. And it always moves in the direction of your habits. So if your habits are unconscious, your money will be too. But if your habits are intentional, your money will follow. And over time, that changes everything. Not overnight, but permanently. At the end of the day, it's not about how much comes in. It never was. It's about how much you allow to go out, and whether you're finally ready to take control of it.